In January, we're just get 5 new programs. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's true. No, I always start worrying about my job. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Eric is retiring and,
Oh, she is?
yeah,
Is
but
this her last semester?
next semester.
Oh,
So we
But-
have, I did Claire Johnson pop in yet?
Let me look.
But I do think we have,
Do we have one that I've seen?
four? I think we do. 1, 2.
Yes.
All right, okay. Oh. It is 4:02 on December 9th, 2024. And we will call this meeting to order. First thing we will do is roll call, item B. So Claire Edelman Heath,
Present.
Claire Johnson. No response. Audra Travelby, present. J. Michael Cruz. Vice Chair Cruz is excused absence. Thank you. Matt McGrath,
Present.
Michael Rulon,
Present.
and myself, Chair McCord, Carla McCord. I'm present. Thank you. Moving on to item C, upcoming events. Just a reminder to look at 365 for upcoming events in music, culture, art, and sciences. And then item 2, a fun one, the ribbon cutting for the Aspen Niche at 10:30 tomorrow, Tuesday, December 11th. Everyone's invited to attend and encouraged to attend.
Yeah, we are sorry that it's the one of the coldest days of the week. There will be hot chocolate.
And it is beautiful, so we'd love to have everybody there. It'd be great to get a picture. And then item 3 on Saturday, December 14th from noon to 5, Cultural Connection AZ, 2001 East Birch Avenue is holding a winter market, a curated show and bazaar featuring local artists and artisans. For more information, you can look at the Culture Connection AZ website at www.cultureconnectionaz.org or the Facebook event on their Facebook page. So item D, public participation. Is there any public participation?
I received no notifications.
Awesome. Okay. And then item E, approval of minutes. Did everyone have a chance to review it? And is there anyone that would like to make a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Great. All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Anyone against? Okay, anyone abstaining? Okay, then it carries. And then item F, announcement. I'm sticking to the letter of the law.
All right. There we go. I'm gonna do my little edit right here.
And then item 1, staff announcements. It looks like Kristen has an announcement.
Yes, so I am just here to let all of you know that we are actively in the recruiting process for public art panelists for our program. And all of you should have received an email from us prior to Thanksgiving holiday with this announcement. If you didn't, let me know. If you are able to share that out to your contacts or anyone you think might be interested in participating, please do so. That would be greatly appreciated. I also have some hard copies here of this flyer if you would like to take some this afternoon. And thus far, we've received 41 surveys back from interested community members. I'm slowly going through our very long list and doing individual follow-ups. So you may hear from me again if you haven't yet responded. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Item 2, staff announcement, request for selection panelists for 2 APS utility cabinet reps.
Yes, so piggybacking on Kristen's general request for panelists, I'm specifically looking for 2 BPAC members to serve on a selection panel. And Lisa, do you have the PowerPoint that has the APS cabinets? Yes. So there's 2 APS electrical cabinets along Route 66. One of them is near northeast of 4th Avenue, and the other one is up by Fat Olives. And so we're starting to assemble our selection committee for the artworks to be featured on those cabinets. We'll have 5 panelists for each cabinet, and one of those panelists of each panel will be a BPAC member, hopefully. So if that's something that you're interested in, then please let me know, send me an email, and we'll get you set up on that.
I'll cover one of them.
Great.
But I would say, that'll be excellent, but I also would say that it is great for the new, maybe
Oh,
new,
sure.
I was going
BPAC.
to.
Okay,
I will leave it to them as well.
Okay,
Yes.
to participate, because this is like something we really get the new commissioners involved with.
Yes, no, that's great. That's great.
Thank you.
Good suggestion. They're some of my favorite projects, so.
Yes, I know.
Anything east
But
of it, you would have to volunteer for. I was
we
gonna
do
say.
have 6 more cabinets. We do have 6 more cabinets that will be coming up.
Yes.
So everybody will get one.
I'm not,
Cabinets for everyone.
I happen to know I have a little flexibility in my schedules, so, it's all good though. So, and then on that, we also have some chair, vice chair announcements, item 3, just one, the City of Flagstaff Bicycle Advisory Committee. Is very excited about this finish, and you guys should have copies of the letters, but they have written a letter to CenturyLink saying thank you, and then publicly recognize CenturyLink's contribution. They are also submitting a letter to the newspaper, to the AC Daily Sun. So it's nice to see some tangential and important public communication that's not just coming from us about this stuff. So it's really supportive of these projects.
And we obviously did our own press release as well, recognizing we had to take part in there, those who fabricated and helped us put this together. But it's really nice to see that the bicycle committee, is also thrilled.
Yeah, that's great. So,
Dave's got his hand up.
Dave? Give your hand up.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Sorry, I'm not there in person today. Hey, I noticed that we have an external person who's recording and using AI note chat taker. And Heidi and I were just chatting. I believe the city is still working on a formal policy, but we are recording this meeting, and we do not currently allow folks to externally record it using AI as we figure that policy out. So, Doug, if you wouldn't mind, we'll provide you with the recording. But just as a point of order, removing
No
your AI
problem.
note taking would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, let me figure out how to remove it.
Thank you.
Doug, you may have to go out of the meeting, and we may have to eliminate the AI assistant to the meeting. I don't know if Annalisa can disinvite that person. I'm not really sure. I heard that had to happen that way before.
All right, I'll just leave then.
I just removed the AI note taker. So Doug, you can stay.
Thank you.
What, did it come back?
He left, but I'll let him back in.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Sorry for the
Okay.
interruption.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Item 4, are there any other commissioner announcements? No announcements? Moving on to item 5, council liaison.
I don't have any, I guess real quick, on the meeting of January 7th, I've been passing along that council, the new seated council will be choosing which commissions and boards they want to be on, and I'm planning on staying, but I just wanted to let everyone know that will be on.
We appreciated everything you've done. with the commission.
Yes. We hope you're successful.
Yes.
Just letting you know.
All right, moving on to action items. Item G, the reconsideration of Parker Groves Aspen LLC's beautification and action grant for the Welcome to Flagstaff mural. And I believe Corey has a presentation.
Yes, just a brief one.
Awesome.
So just to jog your memory.
Good.
Yes.
Sorry.
Jog your memory. Above, right, on the screen is, the original design that was submitted by, Parker Groves and Aspen LLC for their Welcome to Flagstaff mural. And the imagery that you guys had seen before, had not been presented as a mock-up. That incorporated the signage in the upper right-hand corner. And so it was decided that that would not be allowed for a BIA grant due to the signage incorporation. After the meeting, the applicant requested if it was a possibility for their application to be reconsidered if they modified the design to reduce the amount of relationship between the signage and the artwork. And so if you advance to the next slide, please. This is their proposed redesign. They call it a live edge design, so that the artwork is very distinct from the building and the signage. And if you go forward one more slide, please, Annalisa. And we just wanted to compare to an existing mural that received BIA grant support at Dark Sky Brewing. And one of the reasons for denying the Parker Groves application was that signage was on the same wall. And we just wanted to show this example where artwork is on a wall with signage. The artwork is not interrupted by the signage, which was another point that you guys brought up. And so you can advance one more time, Annalisa. And so with the changes made by the applicant and in considering what's been done in the past, we were just revisiting this one and seeing it. There's a different opinion here.
I also would like to add, we did go to the signage people themselves.
Yes.
In the city, and that, their first rendition would have been shot down by them. Yeah, but the second one is acceptable.
Yes.
Did they give you any parameters that they use?
No, they did not. But the first one was a clear incorporation, and it made the mural part of the sign. And this one does not. But do they have a distance? Do they have a measurement? Do they have a phrase to lend us? No, they did not.
Okay.
And we also have the original applicants online here if you have further questions of them.
Was there more?
Just if you wanted to make a motion, or if you are standing by the motion made previously, then we'll just move on.
All right, so the applicants requested a reconsideration with the revised mural. And you guys have heard the input about the sign group internally. So does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, does anyone want to second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Moving on to item H, discussion items. We have a draft regional land use plan for 2045. Elsa Erling, is that how you say it? Yeah. An associate planner here is here to present, so we'll give her the floor. All right.
And welcome, Alpha.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Okay.
Does anyone know why it would come up in, because my PowerPoint always comes up in this form?
Does that happen to anyone else? No.
No, it doesn't.
You can switch to presenter view.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
if you hit the button on the bottom, that's the bottom bar that shows the. Yeah, that might bring it up with just.
Try that one.
It's probably coming up underneath your Teams meeting up on the screen. There. They always show up in two different screens when you've got monitors. Are you coming in from Windows or? When you're doing the presenting? So go ahead and get up for just one more second. I apologize. So go to. Well, I have only been at this view for a year, so that's sharing on for 2 years. Okay, so there was screen, not just for the last year. Are you zooming in from this side or this side? I'm in from this side.
In terms of
Okay,
water
now-
quality,
Go ahead. Do you look online or?
I looked at the comments actually made on this file.
Yeah.
Online, and
There you
so
go.
much.
That's
Thank you,
what it
Hannah.
is. That's what it is. Okay. You're welcome.
I know, it really is. Hello, everyone. My name is Elsa Erling. I'm the Associate Planner and Comprehensive Planning for the city. I work with Sarah Dechter. She may have presented with you guys before. She is the Comprehensive and Neighborhood Planning Manager. And then we also have been working with Melissa Shaw, who is a planner at the county on this project, because it's a plan that applies both to the city and to the surrounding county areas. And there have been, almost 100, probably over 100 other staff who have weighed in from the city and county, helping us write portions, get data, and review. So I'm presenting this today, but there's so many other staff who have contributed to this document. So if you want to go to the next slide. Just to situate us in the process of this regional plan creation, this is something that happens every 10 years or so, required by the state. The first visioning for this project started back in 2021 and 2022. There's been various opportunities with community engagement and workshops and all kinds of things. Some of you may have heard about previous engagement or been involved. But right now we're at where the star is. So we have a full draft of the regional plan that's been reviewed by staff and by a regional plan committee. And this is the opportunity for the public to weigh in and for commissions such as yours ahead of going to council and going through legal review, going to council, going to the county board of supervisors and the planning and zoning commissions. Where it'll eventually appear on the ballot for city residents. Okay, next slide. So in thinking about the approach to this plan, some critical success factors were identified, and these were based on an analysis of what was working and not working from the existing regional plan. And the existing regional plan was adopted in 2014. So some of the things that were the success factors were that this plan be feasible and implementable, user-friendly and concise. We've cut the size of the plan by about 100 pages, I believe, at this point. So we're really trying to make this plan more usable and competitive, so that it reflects community values and it sets clear priorities. This is a key thing for this plan. The previous plan, we talk about it as having a mom and apple pie problem. So this idea that everyone got what they wanted put in the plan, but then when it came to implementing it, it was hard to tease out what the actual priorities were because there were conflicting ideas in there. Another success factor is that it incorporates diverse cultural perspectives of land, water, and natural resources. That it incorporates critical thinking about vulnerabilities, uncertainties, and complexities, and that it considers the vision of different area plans appropriately. There's activity centers are one element of this plan that I'll talk a little bit about later, but we try to take a clearer approach to these activity centers, and that it addresses cost constraints and affordability concerns for the community. Next slide. So I mentioned that there was this regional plan committee, and they were involved when the chapters of the plan were being written. They reviewed each chapter. They were members of the public that were selected by the city and county manager based on recommendations from elected officials. They held 15 meetings over about 10 months. These meetings were open to the public, and some commissioners from other commissions and so on attended. So they reviewed chapter by chapter and discussed, and then they reviewed the full document and endorsed the plan on September 30th. And if you're interested in any of the previous discussion that's happened on these different chapters, we do have videos of their meetings up on our website. Okay, next slide. So following the endorsement of the committee, that was what kicked off the 60-day public review. It started on October 20th and it ends December 19th. So I'm coming to you guys at the end of the review period. We have about 10 days left. And so I know that's a little bit of a crunch, but we hope that we can still get some comments from you all. Hopefully this presentation will help direct which parts of the plan be most interesting to you and make a less labor-intensive process to wade through it. So some of what's happened so far in the public review, we had an opening and closing webinar. Those have both been recorded. I guess it wasn't necessarily a closing webinar because we still had some weeks left, but we did talk in that webinar about some of the comments we've received so far. So if you're interested, you may want to check that out. We had some in-person workshops where we were getting public feedback, especially on the goals and policies and maps of the plan. And then we have in the background, staff is also doing some sort of stress testing of the plan to see how it holds up to our processes. And then we also have been holding office hours on Fridays at various locations around Flagstaff and the region in general. We have one more office hours this Friday from 11 to 2 where we'll be at Summit Fire Station. So if you or anyone you know has a burning question or wants a more one-on-one opportunity to talk to staff about the plan, that would be a great time to come find us if it's convenient for you. And then we've also been doing presentations to boards and commissions. Okay, next slide. So the way to comment on the plan, or how you can find the plan, is online on a platform called Conveyo. And this screenshot on the side is what it looks like when you're looking at the plan. You can play a little bit with the new options. And one thing you can do is look at the comments that others have left, and you can respond to the comments or vote them up or vote them down if you'd like. And so that provides a little bit of more of an interactive way to see what other people are saying about the plan so far. There's a menu where you can scroll between the different, you can select different chapters and search the document as well. And so I think in the memo that I provided to you all, there's a link to the regional plan website, and then this platform Conveyo is linked on the website. Next slide. So some things about the draft plan in contrast to the existing regional plan. It has fewer goals and policies by law. I believe the existing plan has 90 goals, 500 policies. This is much shorter. And some of the, what was a goal or policy has become in a different category that more accurately describes what it intends. That, so for example, we have implementation guidelines in these proposed draft that sort of elaborate on the goals and policies and how they can be achieved, but aren't themselves a policy. The future land use or the future growth illustration looks a lot different. That's a key piece of this plan that I'll get to in a couple slides, but we've made it parcel specific. I just mentioned implementation guidelines. That's a new category that talks about the principles that should be applied when we're implementing the goals and how to carry out these goals and policies. And then we have action items, which is really a checklist for the city and county in terms of the things we want to get done. In the organization of the document, we aim to provide more clarity about what applies to development applications and what is advising staff. There are fewer plan amendment categories. So this is the section of the plan that talks about how over time this is a living document and there's processes that are followed to update it. So that's, there's some changes there, and which include allowing more of an easier process for these small administrative changes, like updating a link or fixing a typo. Okay, next slide. So this is a diagram that's meant to explain the different roles of the regional plan. So it is a foundational document for the city and for the county. It is an amendment to their county-wide comprehensive plan. And it supports other plans and programs by the city in sort of two different ways. On one side of the planning pyramid, you'll see this development review arrow. And these are the ways in which the regional plan applies to development cases that come to the city's planning and development services department. So, for example, a rezoning case has to conform to the regional plan. And there are also these area and specific plans. So these are like neighborhood plans, like Southside has a neighborhood plan. These tie into that section of tie into the regional plan as well on this side of the triangle. And then code updates, that also applies to development review. So the regional plan can set guidance for how we want to see the zoning code updated, for example, or the engineering standards. On the other side of the triangle is the vision arrow. This is the way that the plan influences some of the programs of the city and these sort of these other areas of what the city does that aren't specifically tied into these requirements for development. So the transportation planning, the regional plan can set guidance for that. But in some cases on this side of the triangle, the guidance that's set in the regional plan then has to be adopted into another programmatic document to really be carried out. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so the pyramid ties into how the chapters are organized. So we have the policy section and the implementation section. The policy section is the parts of the plan that directly relate to development review. And then the implementation section is on that vision side. So setting a vision for these different topic areas, such as transportation, resource stewardship, water, and so on. The policy section includes goals and policies that cover each of these different categories that are in the implementation section, but it is organized a little bit differently and then in comparison to the current regional plan. And the growth and land use chapter, which is chapter 4, that is a key part of the policy section. This is primarily a land use focused document. So those two chapters of the goals and policies and the growth and land use chapter make up
that core part. But of course, the implementation section is also important. Okay. Go on to the next slide. So in thinking about the regional plan, we've heard again and again certain priorities from the community that have been kind of guiding for this plan. So one is about creating more housing attainability in the region's neighborhoods and reducing housing costs. We hear about creating mixed-use, denser neighborhoods that support a variety of housing types and active transportation. Reducing climate pollution and protecting air quality is another really important priority for this plan. And I've highlighted this one, protect the region's significant natural and cultural resources. So I believe it ties into your commission, thinking about beautification of public art. And then we have expand the region's preparedness and resilience to hazards and climate change. Okay, so this is the future growth illustration that I mentioned earlier. We do also, in the document, there's a link where you can get to an interactive web map. It's also on our website. So if you'd like to zoom in further, we certainly are looking for comments on the different categorizations of these areas. So each color corresponds to a category. For example, there's urban center, urban neighborhood, and urban corridor. There's also 3 suburban categories or 4 suburban categories, and some rural categories, which are the pink and red areas. And then there's some other categories such as employment district, university research district, parks and open space, and federal lands and working landscapes. And for each of these categories, there is a land use framework, it's called. There's a description that goes into more detail about what density we would want to see in these areas, what characteristics we would want them to have, and there are illustrations as well. So this is a parcel specific map. You can go and look at where you live, what designation has been applied there, and give us feedback as to whether you agree with that. Okay, so now moving into some sections that are maybe of interest to this commission. One thing we've done in the plan is included public art. So during the earlier phases of creating this plan, Sonia London Hall, a local artist, put together these art boxes, which were brought to community events and helped generate some discussion and creativity about different areas that the plan was going to touch on. So I have a copy of the plan here, and I can pass it around if you'd like to look at the different art that's in here, but I believe it's 14 artworks that have been selected for the cover and the chapter divider pages. And Sonia worked with our writer, editor, Avenue Consultants to pull together this design and select the artworks. So I'll just pass this out and feel free to put it through.
So the artwork was obviously created by different members of the public. And Sonia curated it, and there is an explanation page about how the create were used to help actually facilitate community engagement.
Some of it is sort of artist of all ages, so we think it adds a nice touch to the plan there. Okay, next slide. So I have a couple slides that just pull out some key goals and policies and other parts that relate to beautification of public art and public spaces and character. And these are also listed in the memo, the goals and policies that I have written up here. So if you don't have time to read them, you can find them in the memo as well. But within the growth and land use category of goals and policies, you have this goal GM, which stands for growth management. That talks about how development and reinvestment patterns in the region should integrate community values, including the region's unique sense of place. We also have policy DP1, which is development patterns, that talks about how we want to reform development regulations to transform urban and suburban centers and corridors into compact, walkable places, multifamily housing, mixed-use development, and highly connected street and transit systems and dynamic public spaces. We can go to the next slide. So those are two of the goals and policies in this area. There's also the growth and land use chapter, and this is just a sample of what's in this chapter. So on the left, you can see this is one of the illustrations showing current conditions for a suburban center, and how it could hypothetically become more dense and have more activity over time. So one thing to point out about these illustrations is that we've left them very vague on architecture and character. It's not meant to prescribe a certain look to this place, but meant to show a template. But we are definitely looking for feedback on these illustrations. Are they effective in communicating what we can see in the region or suburban center, for example? But there are different illustrations for several of the categories. There are also these implementation guidelines that they sort of build on what's in the goals and policies. And two examples for the urban center is to create central and activated public spaces and to invest in sidewalks and alleys to provide access and services and attractive and interesting public spaces. And then we also have some narrative about the characteristics of development in the region. So this is the little paragraph that talks about the character and Flagstaff's aesthetic character and a little bit of its history. One thing to mention that I have noted in the memo as well is that this plan does not have a community character section chapter the way that the current plan does. Instead, some of those elements have been brought forward in different parts of the plan, different chapters. And there's less focus on design and architecture in this draft, and with the thought that the priority really is the function of our housing and addressing our housing emergency. So that's kind of a change in approach from the current plan, and we're interested in your feedback on that. Okay, next slide. So this is a goal from the social and economic systems category that talks about says maintain neighborhoods of character, safety, and connection while recognizing the unique heritage of places that have experienced discrimination and disinvestment. And then there are some policies underneath this goal that are that talk about displacement as well. Next slide. Transportation is a key section, I think, for this commission. We have goal ST, which stands for streetscapes. And the goal says design streets to accommodate people safely and to include art, contextual landscaping, attractive pedestrian, bicycle, and transit facilities, and appropriate architectural features. Policy ST1 talks about great streets and gateways, which I'll get to on the next slide. But the idea is that we want visually appealing streetscapes that frame outstanding views and support multimodal transportation. And then ST2, create curb management policies and programs to create increased walkability and support activated streets, centers, and neighborhood safety. So this is a map of the great streets and gateways. So the gateways are meant to be, and this is also a concept carried forward from the previous plan, one of the elements that was in the community character chapter, but we've now brought it into transportation. The gateways are those circles, and they're meant to be these sort of entry points to Flagstaff, to the city, where we could
we either already have or we could have signage and design that welcomes people in. And then the great streets, a lot of them are the same and carried forward from the current regional plan, but some of these, you know, if you're a cyclist or pedestrian, you may not think of them as great now, but they've been a part of the purpose of identifying them here is that there is improvement that can happen to make these great, and that's an important thing we want to call out. I mentioned the implementation guidelines before, and here I just want to emphasize that the implementation guidelines get into more detail than the goals and policies, and this is an example of the guidelines that are associated with the streetscape goal that was on a previous slide. So these talk about, for example, activating alleys and supporting sidewalk cafes and parklets, designing gateways to include welcome signs, art, and attractive bicycle and pedestrian facilities, etc. So here, because of the two sides of the triangle and the way the plan's organized, the guidelines are not in the goals and policies section, they're in the chapters, because they don't necessarily apply to, they're not binding to development review, but they are important things that can be overlooked if you're just looking at the goals and policies. So then talk about resource stewardship as well. These are two policies in that category. So RS7 is to recognize and incorporate Indigenous knowledge and cultural practices into natural and cultural resource affairs and projects. RS10 is to engage residents proactively at the neighborhood level in the development and implementation of natural and cultural resource projects and programs, especially when vulnerable or historically disadvantaged populations are affected. Then there are some goals and policies on cultural resources as well. For example, so we have goal CR, the region maintains an enduring and unique sense of place. Policy CR1, which is about preserving historic buildings, sites, and structures. And then CR2, which talks about public art interpretation and police making in public projects, which tells the story of the region's Indigenous peoples, pioneers of all races and ethnicities, innovators and community makers to preserve memories of the Flagstaff community and inspire current and future residents. And then this is the last slide of goals and policies. In the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space section, this is where we talk the most about view sheds. View sheds is a big topic of the current regional plan. And there were some policies that were perhaps a little unrealistic in terms of what the city actually has control over in terms of view sheds. And here in this plan, we felt that parks and open space is really where the city has the most influence on this topic, and that's where we can prioritize protecting view sheds the most. So we have this policy. Pros 1, incorporate and highlight the region's defining landscapes of this landscape design and scales, parks and open spaces, along with some implementation guidelines that talk about how to carry that out. Okay, so here, next slide. So that's a sample of the goals and policies and the other parts of the plan that may be of interest to you. Of course, there's a lot of content in the plan, as you can see, so there may be there's more to it, but yeah, hopefully that helps direct where you can look for places to make comments. So the comment deadline is next, or the Thursday after next, and you can either comment on Conveo, on the Conveo site as individuals. You can also send Sarah, Dr., her email is up there on the slide, a comment letter if you'd like. Some commissions have formed a subcommittee to submit comments, but knowing that there's not so much time in the comment
window left, that may not be, super realistic for this, position. But of course you can, submit comments as an individual. And we have our office hours coming up. If you would like to just talk further about that. Okay. So what comes next after the 60-day review? There'll be a period of comment analysis and looking at the outcomes of our staff stress testing. If you find that there's a lot of complex issues rising from the comments, we may reconvene the regional plan committee to discuss these issues. There's a final legal review coming up, and then the document goes to the Board of Supervisors, the City Council, and the Planning and Zoning Commission from both the city and the county for a retreat, likely in March. There'll be city public hearings following the retreat and the revisions that come from that. And then a ballot initiative and then county public hearings as well. And the county, because they're following a slightly different process, so they county residents don't get to directly vote on this plan, but they through their elected Board of Supervisors, the Board of Supervisors adopts it, and they've elected to do that likely after the city ballot goes through. So I know that was quite a lot of information. So if you have any questions, we can. Yeah, the floor is open. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question that's more for Jana. I know there are a lot of restrictions on advocacy and that kind of stuff. Are there any caveats to our commenting on this document as individuals?
So I think because there is going to be a ballot initiative, it would be the same kind of, restrictions. And Dave McIntyre can jump in here because we had kind of the city clerk come to this commission and kind of, give the parameters for when the BBB tax, is up. And you are allowed to educate but not advocate as a commissioner. What you do as a private person does not, matter, but you have to make that distinction.
Okay.
Dave, is that, because there is a ballot initiative with the same, what we applied to the BBB be the same?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a slight nuance in that since this is coming from the city and the commission may have areas of, or does have areas of actual purview, that the commission can have an opinion or make comments as a commission, but they have to be voted on as individual commissioners or individuals yourselves. Then it's exactly what Jana said, where you're open to educate and as a commissioner and to advocate as an individual, and but the commission can actually weigh in on comments themselves should they choose to, but that has to be done as a commission itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess one functional thing about putting in comments is it does ask you for your name, and you can choose if you want to write your full name and write that, you're a commissioner, if you'd like to just, use your first name or say anonymous or something.
And I was more speaking to when the ballot initiative was actually on the ballot.
Yeah.
And that's when you can't, advocate as a commissioner, but yes, you're being asked directly, for comments. We did not form a subcommittee, obviously, but if by the 19th, if, each of you want to send me comments, we could perhaps get a letter together to send in.
Just because it's final exams week.
Yeah, I know.
I will probably just comment as an individual.
Right. I mean, yeah, it is more difficult. We have, this is, the last of our updates. We've had, many, since 2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot lot of participation at the input levels.
I appreciate this because I looked at this document and had no idea what to focus on. So this makes it more manageable.
Thank you for the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? Anybody online? Okay. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And item I, requests for future agenda items. Do we have any requests for future agenda items? Okay. The time and date for our next meeting, item J, is January 13th, 2024 at 4:00 p.m. And we are now adjourned. Thank you very much.
Balanced out by last meeting.
Yeah. I've never done it.
Final document. She's going to be